Hello everyone, and as promised, it's been about 2 weeks and here I am back. And as you can see, video camera, fingers crossed, working, maybe. We'll see how this works out for us. And as promised, I'm here to come back and reply to comments you guys left on my previous video. It sounds like most of you guys are just pretty stoked to hear that I'm still around, that I plan on having more content, that I want to be more engaged with you. I did want to make sure I was getting back to a couple of specific comments though, since a couple of you guys had some really great questions and some really great suggestions, and I want to make sure I'm not ignoring you. Had a couple of you who agreed that doing a studio tour would be a really fun thing that you'd like to see. So we'll just plan on coming back to that in maybe a couple more weeks. Say, this weekend is obviously, spoilers, it's my birthday this week, so this weekend's gonna be pretty shot as far as content is concerned. But I feel like 2 weeks is a pretty reasonable time frame to come back and kind of show you everything that I've been building and everything I've been working on. And you'll see some kind of sneak peeks of it. I mean, I'm in the space right now, and if I do any live streams between now and then, which I'd like to, you'll sort of get a flavor of the new space that I'm working on. I had one YouTube user ask where he could watch the video or the clip that I inserted into the last video, me performing Second Chances. That's actually from Goth Prom, and that video was part of a recorded live stream. And admittedly, the quality's not that amazing, but if you really want to check it out, that's through some of my friends over at synthwave.tv. It's a Facebook group. I will drop the link below so you can check that out in its entirety. It's actually split into two pieces since where we were, bars aren't exactly renowned for having amazing Wi-Fi. I actually had a couple of you guys, and this was sort of a pleasant surprise, talk about how you would like to see more car content. YouTube user Siam actually asked some really detailed questions about what I'm working on, and without digging too deep, at the risk of boring people who aren't car people here, the motor that's going in the Trans Am is just a basic 350 that was originally in a square body pickup truck. It's sort of a mid-80s build, a GM Goodwrench motor, so it's got a 4-bolt main, and I've basically taken that and put the sort of early 80s Corvette fuel injection on top of it because that's what the Trans Am originally had in it, just in the 305 with smaller injectors versus the 350 with bigger injectors. There's a whole bunch of complicated mathematics involved that led me to go down this route that basically have to do with making sure the fuel injectors could keep up with the amount of air I was moving, and it seemed like the best way to do that was just to increase the compression ratio. So I'll probably end up running 91 octane in the car just to be safe when all is said and done, assuming of course I did it correctly. I'm not planning on doing an LS or an LQ just because it seems like everyone and their mom is doing an LS swap these days, and I have nothing against LSs. It's just that for the Trans Am, my goal was to keep it all looking somewhat original, so that when you pop the hood, no one's really going to know that anything's been done to it too much, other than a couple of giveaways like the fact that there's headers instead of manifolds and a few other things. As far as the Datsun is concerned, which seems to be what you were more interested in, I actually had this idea that I wanted to take the 305 that came out of the Trans Am, rebuild that, up the compression ratio there, maybe increase the ring gap, and actually throw a turbo on it and do a small block 5.0 turbo, a la Roadkill Ratsun, but Chevy in the Datsun, and sort of make it into a fun little 400 horsepower mini race car. Other than that, nothing concrete so far. Those are the only two projects I have. I don't think I can fill an entire channel with just two projects. It sounds like some of you guys are pretty stoked about the idea of having some tutorials and production tips show up, which is cool because I was kind of just floating that idea out there to see if there's something you guys responded to. And if we decide to move forward with that, it's probably going to be just one a month. I have sort of a mini curriculum in the back of my head and that I've started outlining some things that I'd like to cover to show you guys what to do. If we do a Patreon, patrons will sort of be able to access the newest tutorials first before it goes live on YouTube. I think if we go the route of doing a Patreon, patrons will be able to suggest things they'd like to see next. But this is all still somewhat up in the air. I'm just looking to you guys to help me sort of lay down the things you want to see first. As far as collaborations, I know I mentioned this for the as of yet sort of unannounced, unofficial Sentinel sequel. I have a few really awesome people lined up, and I'm not going to unveil who any of them are. There are some tremendously awesome people, though, that have decided to chip in and help make a better product for Sentinel 2. Sentinel 2. That's what we'll call it for now. Sentinel 2. Actually had one person who commented and said that they wanted to see playthroughs and commentary, which is actually not something I mentioned before, but totally open to it. That if we wanted to do some Discord sessions or something and you guys just wanted to hang out, and I don't sit down and play video games very often, and this would give me a great excuse. I did have a couple people, the question was sort of posed like, have you left the fandom? And for those of you that are new subscribers, those of you that haven't been around for 6-7 years, We're talking specifically about Brony stuff, My Little Pony stuff, because that was something I was involved in, 2011, 2012. The short answer is kinda. I mean, I haven't burned any bridges, but I haven't lined up any conventions to go to. I haven't done any actual fan music or remixes for almost 4 years. And I mean, at the end of the day, my sort of synthwave and 80s exploits are actually objectively more popular than any of my fandom stuff was. And I mean, just this last year alone, I wrote a track that was featured on the soundtrack for a small indie film that's now making its way around the film circuit. I had my first label release doing a remix for this artist named Scandroid that I was hired to do through his label. The first single from Sentinel, on the new Retrowave channel has almost 1 million plays. Even if I were still, deep in the trenches of fandom stuff, I'd sort of be forced to give pause and consider, what is it that people are responding to? What is it that people seem to like, and what do I enjoy creating? So even if I weren't sort of already being naturally drawn away from fandom content, I feel like this is the direction that everything is being pulled anyway. I'm sort of reaching a bigger audience and doing stuff I'm enjoying more already. So again, there's no hard feelings, there's nothing bad, nothing that, I'm not giving a middle finger at anybody. It's just what I feel like doing. But either way, I'm still glad you guys are here with me to share in this journey as I do all of this. I hope I'm at least clear on what my reasons are why that's going to be the case. I had one person, this Blaza NYOB, you gave me some really, really detailed ideas, and I'm going to kind of run through what this person wrote because they had such a great sort of all-around vision for things I could be doing. Number one, they said they want to see music. I think that's a given. Number two, consistent logo, branding, image, theme, something that makes it all look consistent. It's something I was already planning on doing, and I'm actually going to have a bumper. So branding is definitely foremost on my mind, because I agree it's super important. You want to be able to recognize that I posted something, you don't want to miss it. Tutorial videos should be in a very well edited, organic, but still on point and style. So succinct, organic, totally. I completely agree. That was the direction I was planning on going. The person also said that during live streams they'd like me to pick just 1 or 2 topics if you're just starting out and record them for future upload. Here's where I need to just make a clarification. So the live streams that I'll be doing are less sort of educational. They're not necessarily like me showing like, oh hey, here's me, I'm starting this thing and working on this thing. The live streams are, because that's more ostensibly what the tutorials will be for, is showing how to do something. Here's how you start this part of the process, because those will be more planned. The live streams are going to be a little more off the cuff. Just like, hey, I'm working on this thing, and you can sit and watch while I work on it. Maybe not quite as glamorous, when you come right down to it. But in the past, my live streams have just been, here I am working on this thing, there's a chat running, you can ask me questions while I'm doing stuff, and I'll do my best to get back to you. And sort of one other thing that this YouTube commenter wrote that I thought was a really interesting idea, and I'd be interested in hearing more thoughts on this, is they would personally like to see a video on the, what they say, obstacles and challenges of being a self-owned, operated, and run musician as far as a business goes, which is a question that I've never really gotten before. I don't feel like there are a lot of people that necessarily are interested in the business side of things, and I'm certainly no expert at being a sole proprietor of a business, but I've certainly come a long ways in the last couple of years, I think. So maybe that could be a whole, I'm not sure if that belongs as a tutorial or if that should be a separate like video log, kind of like this. So I'm open to suggestion on format as far as that goes. Yeah, I'd be happy to talk about the things I know and what I don't know about, having a home-based music business. Other than that, though, there wasn't a whole lot else that I received that was particularly specific, since one other piece of feedback I had was that I did a little too much rambling, and that my last video was maybe a little too long for what I was trying to accomplish. So I'm just going to let this kind of roll out to a close. And as always, if you want to stay in touch with me more directly, as opposed to just through the comment section, go ahead and give me a follow on Facebook or Twitter, and you can reach me through my inbox. So until next time, guys, I'll see you in a couple weeks, and then we'll go through the studio, and I'll do my best to respond to any questions you have that come up then. Thank you so much for subscribing. I'm so thrilled to have you guys with me on this adventure. Until next time.